Hi, I'm Neil Johnson, Operations Director at Apex Recruitment Services.
Hi, I'm Richard Marshington, Sales and Marketing Director of Apex Recruitment Services, and we're here to talk about the EU Referendum in our first vlog.
What implications could a win for the Leave campaign have on the UK employment market?
I think for me, very much staying in is critical for the future of the economy. At Apex, a number of the temporary members of staff that we actually employ and work through our services are from the EU, and I think it will have a dramatic impact, especially on the industrial sector, the care sector and IT sector, should we were to come out of the EU.
I think the flip side of that argument is looking at a higher skill set for the economy in terms of the skills gap. We are obviously using a lot of temporary labour and large amount of workforce utilising the free transfer of labour across borders in the EU. But if those borders were to tighten slightly, there might be some motivation to look even further afield than just the EU to fill some of the skills gap we have in this country.
If the Leave campaign is successful, what can we expect to happen to our existing trade agreements?
I think if the Leave campaign is successful, I think there'll be a problem in negotiating the new trade agreements. At the moment we've got free trade with all the EU countries and also some other EU areas as well, and it's the uncertainty that would be created around those trade agreements that would be the problem. David Cameron's quoted as saying that it would be 10 years of economic uncertainty while we renegotiate those trade agreements. So from my point of view, I think staying in the EU is quite critical on our side.
I'm not sure I totally agree with that. I think that if you look across Europe as a country at the moment, you look at the likes of Norway and Switzerland, that they've now agreed bilateral agreements with the countries that they wish to trade with. And I think that's something that the UK would go back to doing. I think as a nation, our economy is very strong, continues to show signs of growth, and is actually one of the market leaders now. So for people will want to continue to trade with us. If you take the USA, 17% of our import and export market is with the USA. We've got a bilateral agreement with them and it works fine. I think with Obama coming out with his comments around whether we should stay in or come out of it, I don't really feel it's his place to say. That makes it a political agenda. For me, it should be about the facts and the impact on the economy.
Yeah, I also think it should be concentrating on the fact that we've got a 40% of trade with the EU. So it's a vast majority of the trade that we do with any area is within the EU. And looking at single countries is a useful thing to do. We can't ignore the fact that they are the largest market.
In 2015, we contributed a net total of £8.5 billion to the EU. What could this afford the UK if we left?
I don't really agree with that figure. I hear it bandied around quite a lot, but for me, we're not taking into account the amount of trade that we do with the EU. You know, there's a figure that says £65 million per week is spent by the EU in terms of foreign investment into the UK. So my concern would be we'd lose that. In addition, there's a huge amount of administrative costs associated with this as well. So you've got visas, we've got customs, we've got the arrangement of these trade agreements as well. These are all additional costs that have not been taken into consideration when considering that £8 billion.
I think on the other side of that argument, I would say £8 billion, if that figure is correct, and we've got to go on, is a huge amount of money. It's compared to the 65 million pounds a week investment into the UK from EU states. Yes, there is that, but the 8 billion, if you talk about total spend of the EU, 350 million is spent on the EU and bureaucracy that goes along with the EU. So it by far outweighs that actual investment. And if you take, for example, the NHS, 116 billion spent in the fiscal year 2014-15, and that's only increasing. And the 8.5 billion, I think, will go a long way to plugging that deficit.
What are the economic impacts of the EU referendum?
I think recently, particularly since the turn 2016, turn of the year, markets have responded poorly to the uncertainty surrounding the EU referendum, particularly the exit part of it. Even the Remain part, we still don't know what the future holds, we don't have a crystal ball, but one thing that's for certain is the pound against the euro and also against the dollar has grown a lot weaker, particularly since January 2016. And one of the things that David Cameron did when he went to the last round of negotiations with the EU was he negotiated special privileges, one for the welfare system and particularly in the control of welfare going to migrants. So
Yeah.
that was certain.
And I think from our point of view, and more sort of business aligned, is that looking at figures that came out last month in April, we had the sharpest month-on-month growth for a whole year in temporary and contract assignments. A number of clients that we speak to are showing that actually they're putting a freeze or certainly a hold on their permanent recruitment due to the uncertainty being caused by whether we're in or out of Euro. From my point of view, the sooner we make a decision on this and the economy get back on track, the better.
So roll on June 23rd.
Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think from my side, whatever we do, it's a very difficult decision to make. I'd love to have a crystal ball that I could look into, so that in 10 years' time, I could look in my crystal ball and it would say, if we were in the EU, this is what would be happening in our economy. And again, if we're out of the EU, this is what would be happening. Fortunately, I haven't got that ability, so very difficult decision to make.
From my point of view, the advice I would give is that individuals should get a broader view of the market, as broad as possible actually, take as many data sources so they can make an informed decision. So when they roll along to the voting booth, they will feel comfortable in the way they do vote. I
think these are just our thoughts, and if you want more information, do a bit more reading around this, then look at the links at the end of this video. But for now, it's thanks for taking the time to watch, and hope you join in next time.
Thanks very much.